The latest figures from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration show that alcohol was a factor in 31% of all traffic deaths in 2010. But that number is 52% lower than it was 30 years ago. Despite using many of the same measures that have been reducing the number of alcohol-related traffic deaths elsewhere, Oklahoma's numbers haven't budged. Oklahoma Watch reporter Shaun Hittle has been looking at the research on drinking and driving deaths in Oklahoma, and I spoke to him about what he's uncovered. Shaun, how does the number of alcohol-related deaths in Oklahoma compare to the rest of the nation?
Well, when we looked at the data going back to 1994, what we found was that across the country, alcohol-related fatalities had gone down about 20%. But here in Oklahoma, they'd gone up about 10%. And that's about 15 more a year than we were seeing even back then, 20 years ago, despite all the new laws and regulations.
Are there reasons for that?
Well, we put that question to a lot of state officials and a lot of experts in the field, and we didn't get a clean answer to that. What we found is that Oklahoma's laws are oftentimes in line with a lot of other states that have seen declines, such as the ignition interlock law that was passed in 2011. And so we didn't get a good answer. Oftentimes it's nice, if you have a problem, you can come up with a solution or reason for that problem. But we didn't get a good answer.
What programs are being used here?
Well, at the state level, the Office of Highway Safety has seatbelt enforcement actions and alcohol enforcement, programs that they do on selected time periods. And again, the ignition interlock law, which in other states has proven to really reduce DUI deaths, but not so much in Oklahoma yet.
Is it more about the implementation of the programs than the programs themselves? Is Oklahoma doing it differently than other states in terms of implementing and enforcing programs?
Well, the only thing that some of the folks out there that are on the ground working on this could say is budget cuts and there's not enough money to go around to have the enforcement out there and to have enough officers out there patrolling the roads. But again, I think that's something you're going to see in every state.
And it's not just alcohol-related deaths that have stayed above the national average.
That's correct. When we looked at the number for overall deaths, and in Oklahoma there's about 2 fatality accidents every day. That's about 700 a year. And what we found is that, again, across the country they've been going down about 20%, but here in Oklahoma they've pretty much remained stagnant over the last 20 years.
You mentioned budget cuts. Does law enforcement see the need for adding more officers?
Well, certainly some of the folks that we talked to up at the Office of Highway Patrol said that if to combat this problem, you need more people on the ground, and you need more officers out there patrolling the streets. So, if Oklahoma as a state's going to make a commitment to this, putting more officers out there is certainly an avenue that they need to look at.
You mentioned commitment. Is it a high priority, or with finite resources, do those resources have to be used in other areas?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer because, obviously if you talk to a state official, they're going to tell you that, of course this is a priority. Of course this is something we're working on. And they do have programs in place, to try to impact the problem. But at the end of the day, you can't argue with the statistics that we have not improved like the rest of the country. So, it begs the question, where are our priorities and do we need to up those efforts?
And your reporting is available on the Oklahoma Watch website.
Correct, oklahomawatch.org.
Shaun Hittle from Oklahoma Watch, thank you.
Thanks for having me.